From deadly, explosive plane crashes, to sudden building collapses, to truly terrifying fires, throughout 2025, we've taken a look at a variety of insane clips and heartbreaking tragedies. Some that even I still can't believe. But one question that a lot of viewers ask is, what is the worst clip that I've covered this year? What's the worst entry that stuck with me for the longest time? Well, in this video, backed by popular request, we're going to take a look at 15 of the most shocking clips I covered across 2025. As these 15 entries are some of the most heartbreaking and horrifying clips that I covered, viewer discretion is advised. So for one last time in 2025, strap in and draw the curtains, and let's get right into it. This next shocking stream occurred on April the 27th, 2022 in what appears to be Russia. That day, 49-year-old Alexei, better known by his online handle as Offset, went live once again for his friends and followers, diving right back into another session of Escape from Tarkov. Whether it was YouTube, Twitch, or the Russian streaming platform Trovo, Alexei lived for the thrill of going live. He didn't have thousands of followers, but he showed up every day to stream like he did. By late April, he had been streaming Tarkov consistently for at least 4 months. He had built a modest but loyal audience who tuned in to his no-nonsense gameplay and straightforward attitude. That night, the stream opened normally. The camera showed Alexei seated in his chair against a pale wallpapered wall. His headset was on, and Alexei is calm and focused. His attention was locked in, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
Так, ребят, я вот здесь, я выхожу на вас, я. Вы убили его?
Не знаю. Ну это кто гранату прокинул, не наш. Это был ЧВК с пилигримом.
With Alexei sat upright, his face neutral, for 20 minutes he played Tarkov like it was any other day, talking occasionally to viewers and reacting to the gameplay. Everything about the stream felt completely routine. Then, without warning, it wasn't. At approximately 20 minutes and 15 seconds into the stream, Alexei suddenly raised his hand to the side of his head and he rubbed his temple. His face twisted into clear discomfort. At first, it looked like he might just be having some sort of phase, but then his expression changed. His breathing quickened, his eyes rolled to the back of his head, and he began to lose consciousness. Soon he began to gasp. For over a minute, viewers watched in agony as he struggled to breathe, contorting and shifting in his chair, trying to push through whatever was happening to him. There was no sound on stream other than his shallow, ragged breaths, no cries for help, just the laboured rhythm of someone in serious, possibly fatal medical distress.
Мне кажется, это не то на стриме. Мне кажется, это не то на стриме.
Что не то?
Ну, с Лёхой.
Then, gradually, the movement stopped. Alexei slumped back in his chair, and his body fell still. And there he sat, lifeless, all while viewers watched in horror. Time passed. 5 minutes, 10, then 20. He never moved again. The game stayed open for around 30 to 40 minutes before it closed, showing just a black screen with the camera in the corner showing him dead. Just minutes earlier, this was a normal gaming session. Now it was something that no one expected to witness. Alexei had died right there on stream. It wasn't until nearly an hour later that someone finally managed to contact his family. The stream continued to run until Alexei's mother walked into frame. You can see the look on her face. She knew there was nothing she could do. She checked for a pulse, and she could not find one. After realizing that he was long gone, she walked off camera and the stream cut out. Now this was just tragic. There was no warning, no last words, just a slow, terrifying breakdown, captured all on live. Unfortunately, the cause of Alexi's death is unknown, but it's assumed that he died from a catastrophic heart attack or possibly a stroke. It's a horrifying reminder of life's fragility. When Alexei woke up that morning, he had no idea that he would die. He had no idea that when he started that stream that he would be dead within the hour. But at least he died doing what he loved. This shocking and horrifying footage was recorded on August 10th, 2016, in the market town of Newbury in the United Kingdom. That fateful morning, the sun was shining and it was overcast and it was a bit windy. You know, the typical British summer's day. Cutting through the heart of England is the A34 dual carriageway. This road stretches from Winchester on the south coast all the way to Salford in Manchester. As always, every day, it carries a constant stream of traffic. Tens of thousands of people travel along this road each and every day. One lorry driver that was doing his day-to-day, driving a 40-ton Mercedes lorry along the A34, was 30-year-old Thomas Croker. Thomas, a Polish national living in Hampshire, had worked as a lorry driver for some time. That day, at around 2:30 p.m, he had finished his job for the day of driving a car transporter full of vehicles across the country. It was now time to head home. Making his way along the A34, Thomas drove without any issues, until approximately 10 minutes past 5. At this time, Thomas was still driving northbound along the A34. By this time, Thomas had been driving all day and was just an hour away from finishing. All captured on his dash cam, however, as he drives along the dual carriageway, Thomas can be seen rocking out to music before he becomes distracted with his phone. Apparently, he was scrolling through his music library until he looks up and saw a row of stationary traffic only a few hundred feet in front of him. Travelling at nearly 50 miles an hour, you can see a look of panic flash across his face as he slammed on the brakes, but it was already too late. His 26-ton lorry slammed into the back of the queue like a bulldozer, impacting a line of 2 heavy goods vehicles and 4 cars. The first vehicle he struck was a Vauxhall Zafira, driven by Mark Goldsmith, with his 13-year-old son Jake in the passenger. The impact hurtled their car forwards into the vehicle that was ahead of them, a Vauxhall Corsa carrying the rest of the family. They were all returning home from a camping trip in Devon. Inside this Corsa was 45-year-old Tracy Houghton, as well as her sons 13-year-old Ethan, 11-year-old Josh, and her stepdaughter, 11-year-old Amy Goldsmith. Their car was shunted forward, and as it did, it was forced beneath the rear of a heavy goods vehicle that was in front of them. In just a second, it was all over. Clanking of metal and the screams of agony rang out into the air, and Thomas then stepped out of his lorry to find absolute horror. It was a bloodbath. The Corsa, containing most of the family, had been shunted forward and forced under the heavy goods vehicle, compressing it to just a third of its size. Everyone inside, Tracy, Ethan, Joshua, and Amy, were all dead. All because Thomas wanted to put on a tune. He was too distracted with his phone that he didn't look forward. A complete and utter tragedy unfolded on the motorway. In the crash, he impacted 2 other vehicles, severely injuring 4 more. One car was completely flipped onto its roof, with its occupant breaking their back. I can only imagine what it must have felt like for Mark and his son to get out of the car, hoping and praying that everyone was okay, and realizing that they were all gone. First responders flooded to the scene, and firefighters worked to pry victims from their mangled wrecks using the jaws of life, as Thomas stood by the roadside, watching and smoking cigarettes. When questioned at the scene, he told police that his brakes had failed and that the traffic in front of him just appeared. It just stopped right in front of him. He then broke down at the scene, screaming that he had killed them. The following day, as police conducted their investigation, Thomas was asked by his company whether or not he had been distracted in the crash, and he replied that he had his radio on and that he wasn't tuning it and that he wasn't on his phone. However, he soon changed his story in the following days when police discovered the dashcam footage, clearly showing him on his phone.
Had Croker been watching the road that evening, it's possible he would have had up to 45 seconds to see the traffic ahead at a standstill. Crushed beneath a lorry in front, Tracy and the children stood little chance of survival.
Just under 3 months later, Thomas appeared at Reading Crown Court, and here he showed a lot of remorse, breaking down when the footage was shown to the court. The court heard that he had been so distracted that he was barely looking at the road for almost a kilometre. It was also revealed that just hours earlier, when he dumped the cars, here he signed a declaration promising that he would not use his mobile phone as he went home. Judge Mara McGowan described the case as one of the most horrific that she had ever seen, and while passing sentence, she said that his attention had been so poor that he may as well have been driving with his eyes closed. Ultimately, he pled guilty to 4 counts of causing death by dangerous driving and 1 count of causing serious injury by dangerous driving, and was sentenced to 10 years behind bars. Many people, including me and the family, feel like this sentence was nothing compared to the agony that he had inflicted.
In the moments Mr. Croker chose to look at his phone, he caused a multiple vehicle accident and took the lives of Tracy, Ethan, Josh, and my daughter Amy. He was so distracted, he made no attempt to slow down. The sentence of 10 years in prison will not ease our pain and suffering, nor do we believe it will send a strong enough message to those who lack the self-restraint to not use their mobile phones whilst driving.
Victims' families launched an appeal in the following year to extend his sentence to 25 years, but they were swiftly denied, the judge stating that this sentence was fair and that the case was complex. Their family was returning home from a holiday. They were likely in good spirits, but sadly, the majority of them never made it home. This haunting entry begins on the 27th of April 2023 at the Kuala Namu International Airport in Indonesia. Thousands funneled into the entrance for what was supposed to be a normal flight to wherever they were going. Workers arrived for their shifts, and the day began just like any other. As usual in these kind of stories, nothing was out of the ordinary until 2 workers noticed a strange but foul smell coming from inside one of the elevators. Upon inspection, it was clear that the smell was coming from beneath the elevator. As they got closer to the smell, it became truly unbearable. Workers opened one of the elevator doors, and when their eyes focused, they finally saw a crumpled up body lying beneath them. They realized that what they were smelling was a decomposing body. They were smelling the unmistakable smell of death. After realizing what they had discovered, workers backed off and called the police and ambulances to the scene. Police officers and ambulance crews filled the section of the airport, all looking like they were in a panic. They too were shocked at what they had discovered. Inside lay the decomposing body of a woman who died days ago, identified as 38-year-old Asaya Sintadui. The very first thing officials did was check the CCTV footage from within the lift over the last few days, and eventually they realised what had happened. Upon checking the CCTV, they spotted Asaya calmly entering the lift 3 days previously. The CCTV shows her entering and taking the lift to the 2nd floor. She was on her way up to meet her niece at the check-in area of the airport. As the lift reached her destination, she then appeared to be confused. The lift had stopped at what she thought was her floor, but the doors had not opened. Unaware that they were already open, Asaya began frantically pressing buttons, believing that she was stuck in the lift. The lift doors continuously opened and closed behind her, but somehow she just didn't notice. Instead, she spiraled into a complete panic. She called her niece, who was waiting at the airport, to tell her that she was stuck in the lift. Thinking that the doors had simply jammed, all while on the phone to her niece, she begins to pry the doors open. All on CCTV, as she pried her fingers between the metal doors, they gave little resistance and quickly swung open. However, there was no floor behind, no freedom. Instead, beyond the doors was an exposed, open space that was used for maintenance workers. As the doors swung open, Asaya tumbled forward straight into the void and fell 3 stories to a recess space below the elevator. This space allowed her to fall inside and allowed the lift to continue to function without crushing her. Her cause of death could not be determined, meaning there's a chance that she didn't die from the fall. It's quite possible that she was trapped down there for hours, unable to shout for help until she succumbed to her injuries. Absolutely horrifying. When Asaya failed to show up, her family contacted airport staff and told them that she had fallen down the elevator shaft because she said that she was trapped on the phone. Airport officials replied to them and said that no one was actively monitoring the CCTV camera from within the elevator and that the family would not be allowed to check any of the footage for procedural reasons. When they asked to check the elevator shaft instead, the airport again refused. Ridiculous. It's totally possible that if they'd checked the shaft when requested, she may well still have been alive and been able to be rescued. A 3-story fall is no joke, but it's survivable. Instead, the airport refused and left her to rot in there for 3 days. Nobody could believe that such a large airport could have safety issues like this. Why was there such a big gap behind the doors? I don't know if that's standard, but it seems a bit crazy that you can just pry open the doors with little effort and fall 3 stories. Shortly after the gruesome discovery was made, Asaya's husband, Ahmed, raised 6 reports against 6 companies, accusing negligence causing death. He filed a police report against 2 Indonesian-owned companies which helped manage the airport, as well as GMR Airports Consortium, in the hopes that his beloved wife's death was not in vain and it does not repeat itself again. Now, this is just one of those cases that you have to look at twice, because it's just so crazy from all angles. The CCTV footage showing the doors opening behind her back is shocking. If she'd just turned around instead of attempting to pry the doors open, she would most likely still be with us today. Magic, it's a way to create illusions and make people think that the impossible is real. But when magicians push their tricks too far, the illusion can crumble and disaster can strike with brutal force. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened on June the 16th, 2019, in West Bengal, India. That day for 40-year-old stuntman and self-proclaimed magician Chanchal Lari was meant to be a big milestone. Chanchal, known as the Wizard Mandrake, had spent months planning this latest magic performance, and for him, this wasn't just another stunt. It was a chance to revive interest in magic and prove that he could still amaze the world. His plan was bold. He planned to be wrapped in ropes, bound with steel chains, and locked with 6 padlocks before being submerged in the Hooghly River from a bridge linking the cities of Howrah and Kolkata. This trick was inspired by the legendary escape artist Harry Houdini and mirrored a trick that Chanchal had pulled off 21 years earlier. Back then, he'd locked himself inside a bulletproof box, tied with chains and padlocks, and escaped after being dropped off the exact same bridge. That stunt had gone off without a hitch. He emerged in just 29 seconds, leaving the crowd in awe, with some believing that he might actually be magic. On that Sunday, June the 16th, Chanchal returned to the iconic Howrah Bridge, spanning the Hooghly River once more. As he reached the bridge, Chanchal called in the police as well as the media to witness the performance, as well as providing backup just in case something went wrong. On the riverbank, his family stood alongside a crowd of spectators, all eager to see if he could pull off the impossible once more. He, as well as several other volunteers, boarded a small boat and made his way just underneath the bridge. The crowd watched, the tension building as he prepared for what would be the most dangerous act of his career. with his family watching and the cameras rolling, Chan Chao was wrapped in chains and padlocks, as well as ropes. Before the stunt, he addressed the camera, his voice steady, saying, "If I can open it up, then it will be magic, and if I can't, it will be tragic."
আজ যে ম্যাজিকটা আমরা করতে এসেছি সেটা হচ্ছে সো রিস্কি, অ্যাপারেন্টলি রিস্কি এবং অবশ্যই রিস্কি। প্রথমে যেটা করা হবে, আমার হাত দুটো পিছন দিক থেকে বাঁধা হবে মোটা দড়ি দিয়ে, পা দুটো বাঁধা হবে মোটা দড়ি দিয়ে, এবার সারা শরীরে চেন দিয়ে পেঁচানো হবে, তার সঙ্গে তালা থাকবে, 6খানা তালা থাকবে বিভিন্ন জায়গায়। সেই অবস্থায় পায়ের দিক থেকে ক্রেনের সাহায্যে আমাকে তুলে নেওয়া হবে। এটা উঠে যাবে প্রায় 50-60 ফুট ওপরে, ব্রিজের কাছাকাছি। সেখান থেকে আস্তে 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 আমাকে জলের মধ্যে, রিভার গঙ্গার মধ্যে আস্তে আস্তে নামিয়ে দেওয়া হবে। এইবার সেই যে ভয়ঙ্কর বাঁধন সাধারণভাবে খোলা যায় না, সেখানে আবার দুরন্ত স্রোত, সেই স্রোতের মধ্যে আমি খুলে ফেলবো। যদি খুলতে পারি ম্যাজিক, আর যদি খুলতে না পারলে ট্র্যাজিক।
Moments later, he was hoisted by a crane from the bridge, from the boat, and lowered into the Hooghly River below. The crowd buzzed with anticipation as he disappeared beneath the surface, the chains clinking slightly as the water swallowed him whole. Seconds passed, then minutes. The crowd waited, eyes fixed on the river, expecting him to break free and rise from the water, but he just didn't. 5 minutes turned to 10. The excitement then shifted to unease. Chan Chao was nowhere to be seen. They pulled the crane up and found that he was no longer on the hook. Somehow he had become unhooked from the crane and must have been taken away by the current. Rescue teams searched tirelessly, but it wasn't until the following night that his body was eventually found, nearly a kilometre downstream. He was still bound in the chains and the padlocks. The trick had failed, and Chan Chao had paid the ultimate price. His earlier words now carry a haunting weight. It's clear to see that he did understand the risks, he accepted them, and took the plunge anyway. This case is a shocking reminder that even for the boldest of performers, the line between risk and death is razor thin. So, if by any chance you accidentally find yourself by a river, accidentally find yourself bound in steel chains and 6 padlocks, and you too are thinking about doing an epic magic trick, ask yourself, is the magic worth the risk? Because sometimes there's no second act. This last clip of horror occurred in Santo Domingo, the capital city of the Dominican Republic. Known for its vibrant party scene and lively nightlife, Santo Domingo is known as a place where locals and tourists can enjoy a culture of dancing, music, and celebration. But on April 8th, 2025, a horrifying tragedy would occur that would shock the world and forever change hundreds of lives. In Santo Domingo, in the Atala neighborhood, was the Jet Set nightclub. Situated 7 kilometers or around 4.5 miles from the city, the nightclub was a popular attraction known for its live dance music, bringing a vibrant party scene to the streets of Atala. The building, originally constructed in 1973 as a movie theatre, was later converted to a nightclub in 1993. After a decade of being open, in 2010, as well as in 2015, the building went under extensive renovation to transform the venue into a modern, trendy scene. These renovations included a new 2-story high ceiling that allowed for overhead lighting rigs, disco balls, as well as a larger sound system to be installed without obstructing the dance floor below, setting it apart from other clubs in the area. These renovations allowed the club to host 1,700 patrons, 1,000 on the dance floor, and 700 seated. It soon garnered a reputation for its Monday night offerings called the Jet Set Mondays. On these nights, the nightclub offered live music events, transforming the club into a cultural hotspot for many in Santo Domingo. It seems really nice, to be fair. It seemed like a nightclub where you could spend time with friends and family, as well as enjoy yourself, safely. Or that's what people thought, at least. Until April the 8th, 2025. That evening, it was a special night for the club. Not only was it a Jet Set Monday, but they were also celebrating 50 years of being a Dominican nightlife icon. To mark this occasion, the club was hosting Ruby Perez, a legendary merengue singer. Approximately 515 guests, comprising of high-profile individuals, celebrities, politicians, athletes, as well as long-time patrons, flooded into the building, expecting a night of live singing and fun. But as the night got going, guests were enjoying themselves, eagerly awaiting 9 p.m. when legendary singer Ruby Perez was set to take stage. The night was going well, but Ruby Perez was fashionably late, appearing at 11:40 to perform almost 3 hours after he was supposed to. Of course, his appearance caused the crowd to go wild, but as he was performing on stage, at approximately 12:44 a.m., some reports came in that dust had begun falling from the ceiling. It started landing in drinks on those below. Something was happening. Then, minutes later, a terrifying crash came from above and gave no one chance to react. All captured on camera. In a flash, almost the entire roof of the club collapsed onto the 500 individuals that were partying below. Described as a similar sound to an earthquake, in just a second, tons and tons of concrete and debris came crashing down from above, slamming into the ground, trapping, killing, and crushing many instantly. The bright, colourful dance floor that was full of people having fun just moments previously was now pitch black, covered in debris, twisted metal, and blood. The energetic music was now replaced by the sounds of screams and pure terror, as people began to realise what had happened. A portion of the guests were not fully buried and managed to free themselves shortly after the collapse, many sustaining serious injuries. These guests described a horrifying scene. Hundreds were pinned beneath heavy concrete slabs, some buried beyond view, some crushed beyond belief, clearly dead. It was just a total horror, but emergency services arrived at the scene within 9 minutes, and when they got there, it was just pure devastation. There was now a gaping hole where the 2-story high ceiling once was. It was a scene straight out of a horror movie. I couldn't quite believe it when I saw the photos and videos from the outside. It doesn't look real. It looks like the entirety of the roof collapsed, leaving basically nothing left. Rescue teams realised that they needed heavy machinery and a lot more help. Soon, an extensive search and rescue team was coordinated, with over 400 responders deployed to the disaster site. Local firefighters, paramedics, and military personnel worked through the night to save those trapped. But as I said, the scene was just totally unmanageable. Hundreds lay there trapped, and hundreds lay there dead. Over the next 12 hours, they used thermal cameras, dogs, drills, saws, any heavy machinery in the area to dig through the debris, and amazingly managed to save the majority of those trapped alive beneath the concrete. The main singer of the night was killed right in front of his daughter, who amazingly survived. As rescue teams worked around the clock, outside, a crowd of anxious relatives and friends gathered around the ruins of the club, desperate for news of their loved ones. The scene grew so chaotic that authorities had to use a megaphone, pleading to people to clear a path so that ambulances could get through. Some individuals were buried so deep that it took hours for them to be recovered, with the last survivor being pulled from the rubble on the afternoon of Wednesday, April the 9th, 26 hours after the collapse. Over 150 to 255 people were injured, with 190 ambulances arriving at the scene. Tragically, many died instantly from traumatic head and chest injuries from the falling concrete slabs. They didn't stand a chance. Recovery teams did not stop heaving out dead individuals until 59 hours after the collapse. And over the next few days, the death toll only continued to rise.
At least 33 people were killed and more than 150 others were injured,
killing at least 113 people.
The Jet Set Club in Santo Domingo collapsed Tuesday, killing nearly 200 people.
Authorities said the death toll had risen to more than 220 people. Mourners wept outside the Jet Set Club in Santo Domingo as crews sorted through the rubble.
By the end of this whole ordeal, the death toll stood at 236, an absolutely shocking number of people to lose their lives in a single night. The victims ranged from early teenagers to elderly in their 70s. This included former MLB players Octavio Dotel, as well as Tony Blanco and Nelcy Cruz, the governor of the Northwestern Dominican Republic province. So this was a total, unimaginable tragedy.
Authorities here say they don't know why it happened, declining questions about the investigation, while the owner of the jet set says he's being transparent. Tonight, authorities say they finished searching the rubble, a grim reality for many, still some moments of relief. But yesterday, this family discovered their loved one, once missing, was found in the hospital alive.
Was packed with family members. This is the entrance of the Jet Set nightclub. And at this point, what we're seeing is just that crews are moving quicker and quicker in order to be able to find people and get those bodies to the morgue so that family members can, at this point, identify the bodies of their loved ones.
Many couldn't believe the staggering death toll. 236 people lost their lives in a club that they thought was safe. They were crushed and killed in the most violent and horrible way imaginable. Just tragic all around.
In a statement, Jet Set Nightclub expressed its condolences and said it's collaborating fully and transparently with the relevant authorities to assist the victims and clarify what happened.
In the weeks that followed, grief poured out across the country. For the families of the 236 people that never made it home, one question remained. Who was responsible? Well, as is the case with most of the things that I cover on this channel, it turned out that this was a disaster waiting to happen. In 2023, a bolt of lightning struck one of the generators that was on top of the roof and caused a large fire. This fire was contained with no injuries, and the local firefighters deemed the building structurally safe. However, upon further inspection, civil engineers later concluded that the fire likely weakened the concrete, especially under the weight of new heavy rooftop machinery that was put there after the renovation. This was the suspected main cause of the collapse. To add to this, a government report and criminal indictment revealed structural support columns were also removed without permits during the renovation, and professional assessments were not obtained. Now you may be thinking that the owner might not have been aware. Well, the previous day, a worker messaged the owner warning that ceiling panels are breaking and that pieces of the ceiling were falling off, claiming that it was dangerous. The club owner saw these messages and refused to pay for any repairs, and instead decided to fix the roofing himself by placing plasterboard on the ceiling on the exact same day of the collapse. Further investigations also noted that cracks in the ceiling, as well as sagging and water stains, were all present, showing that the roof had been seriously weakened over time. Basically, the Jet Set nightclub was not safe for anyone to enter, let alone 500 people. It's absolutely ridiculous. The club, once a symbol of Dominican nightlife, had become a cautionary tale of negligence. They ushered people inside, leading to the deadliest non-natural disasters in Dominican Republic's history. After this news went public, calls for justice rang out louder than ever. Over 50 lawsuits were raised against the club's owners, Antonio Espaillat and his sister, and on June 16, 2025, the pair were arrested on suspicion of negligence causing death. The The police said publicly that both defendants displayed immense irresponsibility and negligence by failing to physically intervene to prevent the club's roof from collapsing. Now, this case is absolutely shocking. I cannot believe that it got to this point. The owner was well aware that the roof was collapsing and slapped on some plaster and thought that was just going to fix it, putting everyone's lives at risk. I'm sure that he will go to court and I'm sure he'll probably get a sentence, but as I've said in previous videos, no amount of money or prison term will bring these people back. Hundreds of families were shattered in the space of a single night, not to mention the horror that was inflicted onto those who survived, as well as first responders. I'm sure it will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Bodycam footage really underscores the fact that life is unpredictable. None of us know what's around the corner, whether that be for good or bad, and sadly, this entry is a perfect example of that. This first haunting entry was recorded on the night of September 19th, 2024 in Houston, Texas. As night fell on the area and local residents retreated indoors, officers on duty continued their routine patrols, totally unaware of the disturbing tragedy that would soon unfold. That night, Officer Shelby Kennedy and Officer Joshua Rosales from the Houston Police Department were out on patrol doing what they do. It was an ordinary day at work, and at around 9 PM, they arrested a suspect before placing him in the back of the car and made their way back to the station for processing. As Officer Shelby Kennedy drove back, she wasn't speeding, it wasn't an emergency, they were just driving along at what seemed like a normal speed. All captured on dashcam, you can see them driving down Antoine Drive. Then, just like they always do in these kind of videos, everything's all fine until suddenly it isn't. At around 9:52 PM, as Officer Shelby Kennedy puts her foot down, driving along the still busy road of Antoine Drive near Piedmont, out of the darkness steps a group of people straight onto the road. The group consisted of 41-year-old Desire Poole, her daughter, her son, and a family friend. They had just disembarked a metro bus on Antoine Drive and they were returning home. Now, it's not confirmed, but while crossing the street, Desire looked to have dropped her bus pass and was possibly looking for it in the road, when out of the blue, the marked police car came barreling down the road towards them. Sadly, the driver of the vehicle, Officer Shelby Kennedy, just didn't see the group in the road for whatever reason. Instead, she continued driving northbound towards them and didn't alter her speed at all. Captured by the dashcam, the car races towards them and they freeze in panic. But as I say, the driver didn't see them at all, and within an instant, Desire was struck by the police car.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Oh, shit! Oh my fucking God! You didn't see them? Oh my fucking God, Kennedy! Whoa, whoa, whoa! Oh
my God!
Oh my fucking God! You didn't see them?
No!
As she was struck, she fell to the ground and the police car pulled over and performed emergency assistance. Amazingly, only Desire was struck. The rest of the people, Desire's daughter and the friend and the son, were narrowly missed. But as I say, sadly Desire just wasn't so lucky. She was mowed down right in front of her kids and suffered grievous injuries. In the middle of the road, as cars continued driving by, Officer Rosales tried his very best to save Desire's life, as the children stood around crying. They scream at Officer Shelby to call an ambulance, to which he replies, "I already did." As Officer Shelby sits in the police car, one of the children rushes to the window and says, "You just killed my mum." Absolutely chilling.
APR north of Piedmont. And we need a sergeant. CPR in progress.
Both body cams at the scene captured the most horrific nightmare. Her kids could do nothing but watch as Officer Rosales continued CPR, but it just wasn't looking good. She had blood coming out of her nose and mouth, and she was drifting in and out of consciousness.
Watch out. Hey, can you breathe? Can you breathe? Hey, watch out. Watch out. Sir, can call the ambulance right now. They're already on the way. Oh my God, go. What are you waiting for? CPR in progress. My mom.
Do not die on me. Come on, pray. Jayla, come here. She's waking up.
Mom, wake up, please. Just give me some space, buddy. I know, I understand. Just give me some space. I understand. Who was driving the car? Hey, breathe. Come on, breathe. Can you breathe? Can you talk to me?
I swear we need you. Mom, I'm telling you.
Hey, I understand. Just give me some space, buddy, okay? Just give me some space. I'm doing what I can. Hey, can you breathe? Can you talk? Please. Hey, she's moving. Hey, can you talk?
Her leg. She got blood in her mouth.
I understand. She might. Hey, let's get her in recovery. She started breathing. Don't. All right. You guys know where you're going?
Her kids begged her to stay awake, but sadly, it was all in vain. Despite rushing her to the hospital, Desire was pronounced dead on arrival. Now, this is all just horrifying enough, but bizarrely, the Houston Police Department released this body cam footage to the public in late November, just days before Thanksgiving, before even sharing it with the family beforehand, sparking huge public outcry, as well as raising questions about the timing of the release. At the same time, the police publicly stated that Desire wasn't on a crosswalk, and that she'd simply stepped into the road, essentially placing blame on her. However, upon rewatching the dashcam video, it's clear at least one person could be seen from a distance in the roadway for about 5 seconds before the impact. The other officer in the car even shouted, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," before the crash, but Shelby just didn't slow down at all. It was like she was in her own little world. If she'd just tapped the brakes, even just a little bit, it's possible that Desire may still be here today and her kids would still have their mum. Just 2 months after the incident, in December of 2024, much to the family's disgust, Officer Kennedy returned to active duty, but the Houston Police Department publicly stated that this does not imply that she had been cleared of any wrongdoing. Now, this is just another one of those cases that hit me hard. 1 minute the family was there, crossing the road, and literally within a second of that car hitting Desire and her hitting the floor, she was dead. It still blows my mind how fast life can turn on its head and place you in a reality that you didn't even consider. Honestly, it made me tear up while researching and voicing this, because it's just so unbelievably tragic and so unbelievably avoidable. First up, we've got some footage that was captured just days before writing this. It's quite fresh, so details are scarce, but I'm certain the footage captured will leave you scratching your head. This entry begins in João Pessoa, a port city located in northeastern Brazil. Famous for its variety of beautiful beaches, the city is also known for its calm coastal lifestyle, historic charm, and lush green spaces that stretch through its busy city centre. However, one thing that attracts people to João Pessoa is the Parque Arruda Câmara, known locally as Bica. Now, this park is a zoobotanical park and urban green reserve situated in central João Pessoa. It basically combines a vast botanical garden with remnants of the native rainforest flora with a zoo. This zoo sits inside a preserved forest environment and is home to a wide range of exotic animal species. They've got things like snakes, monkeys, owls, but what attracted one visitor on the 30th of November 2025 was the lion section. This visitor was a 19-year-old man by the name of Gerson de Melo Machado. Gerson was obsessed with lions and wanted to become a lion tamer. Apparently, he told people that day that he'd gone to the zoo to pay his respects to the lion and appreciate their beauty. But what he would actually do that day, nobody could predict, and it left countless scarred forever. As family and children were taking in all the area had to offer, looking at the monkeys, the owls, and the lions, when several people saw Gerson begin to climb one of the huge walls outside the lion enclosure. Inside this enclosure was an adult lioness named Leona, one of the highlights of the zoo. All captured on camera, he'd scaled all the way up to the top of the 26-foot fence, with only a barbed wire between him and the lion enclosure below. By now, park officials and security were made aware of what was happening and they rushed to the enclosure, but by then, Gerson had already begun climbing down a large tree that just peeked above the top of the enclosure, leading right into the lion's den. They could do absolutely nothing but watch as he slid down the tree. Captured on camera by various angles, watched by staff, security, and children, he slowly edged down the tree and edged ever closer to the ground. The lioness had already caught onto what was happening and rushed over to wait at the base of the tree, ready to strike. Gerson obviously saw the lion, and at this moment, he slipped out of the tree right into her paws.
Porra nenhuma, mano. Olha espremendo lá os pés dele lá.
You can guess what happened next. Leona violently attacked Gerson, as she would do in the wild. Lionesses have large, half-an-inch long, razor-sharp claws. Gerson didn't stand a chance as they ripped through his skin, with the lioness's teeth pinning his limbs like a vice, crunching through his bones like nothing. Zoo staff and security tried their best to stop the attack, even using a fire extinguisher to try and scare Leona away, but it was futile. He'd already been brutally attacked.
Eu vi quando ele mordeu na perna dele e arrastou, né? Valeu, outra com ele. Cuida que tal. Quem dá comida aí.
Eventually, Leona was sedated and Gerson was dragged out of the enclosure, but of course, by then, he was long gone. He'd been ripped to shreds by the lioness and was pronounced dead. While some people mourned the young man's death, many others defended the animal, condemning Gerson's selfish and crazy actions, pointing out that the lioness was only reacting on instinct, which is totally correct. Apparently, Gerson had severe learning disabilities and schizophrenia. He lived in the local slums and had been arrested several times. Even in the days leading up to this, he'd been arrested for throwing rocks at police cars. It was reported that his brain capacity was no more than that of a 5-year-old, leaving many to wonder where his carers was and how he managed to get to where he did in the first place. His child protection counsellor said that he had recently hid in the landing gear of a plane in the hopes of flying to Africa. So he clearly needed help. He clearly shouldn't have been there. Was it that he just wanted to see the lions, or was it a suicide attempt? Honestly, we'll never know. While he had mental issues, to me, it didn't really look like a suicide, more like a dangerous fixation that nobody could stop in time. Following this incident, the zoo released a statement. They reassured the public that there was no possibility that she would be put down because of this, reinforcing that it wasn't her fault that someone climbed in her enclosure. As this literally happened 5 days ago, investigations are still ongoing. While of course Leona wasn't to blame, why on earth was there a tree leading all the way out of her enclosure? Why was a visitor able to scale a 25-foot fence without anyone stopping him? And surely, if Leona wanted to, she could have just climbed out herself. Surely this was a disaster just waiting to happen. This hauntingly tragic first clip originates from Tanzania, in Africa, on Thursday the 19th of September 2019. That year, it was a very special year for a Louisiana couple, 40-year-old Stephen Weber and 40-year-old Kenesha Ann Twain. The pair had been together 2 years, and that year it was to be both of their 40th birthdays. To celebrate Kenesha's 40th, Stephen wanted to make the occasion extra special. So, to do this, he booked a 4-day stay at the Manta Hotel, located just off Pemba Island in Tanzania. Stephen surprised Kenesha with the tickets, and she was amazed. It was due to be the holiday of a lifetime. The Manta Resort offers a variety of exotic rooms and exciting things to do. But what really sets the place apart is their special underwater room. Now this was very special. The double room is situated 820 feet away from shore and spans 33 feet underwater. I don't even know how they built this thing. This room allows guests to sleep under the waves and allows them to see the aquatic life from a completely new angle. This room costs a whopping $1,700 per night and is often booked out all year round. So, in mid-September, the pair travelled from their home in Louisiana and settled into their underwater hotel room nicely.
There's Steven. Nobody said you can go in there. Curious. Alright, so this is their living room. Right, what view? Going upstairs to the top floor. Bed, the stargazing bed. Oh my god. Here we go. Hey, here we are in the underwater room. Oh my gosh. There is the bed. Some fishies. Oh, there's one. There's more. Amazing. Here comes Steven.
Babe, look, a shark.
Not funny. Alright.
On their holiday, they were having the best time together. They went on a safari and they went snorkeling as well as diving. They were having the best time until the 4th day of the trip. On the 19th of September, Kenesha was chilling in the underwater hotel room when all of a sudden, Stephen appeared at the window with a snorkel and a pair of flippers. In his hand was a handwritten note enclosed in a Ziploc bag. All on camera, he placed this on the window and the note read, "I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you, but everything I love about you, I love more every day." Kenesha read this and Stephen flipped the paper, revealing the words, "Will you please be my wife?" before pulling out a ring from his shorts.
What does that say? Oh, it's so cute. What?
Kenesha went wild. What a beautiful and thoughtful way to propose to your loved one. It was all laughs and smiles, and then Stephen realised that he was running out of air. In an instant, he dove back up to the surface and Kenesha ran to meet him upstairs. But when she got to the surface, it was silent. Stephen was nowhere to be seen. Panic set in when he never resurfaced. Kenesha ran downstairs and attempted to seek help, but was unable to reach resort staff by phone or by radio. In desperation, she returned back upstairs and flagged down a passing boat, who quickly discovered him floating lifelessly in the water. This good Samaritan attempted to revive Stephen on the boat, but things just didn't look good. Police and ambulance crews were called, with staff only relaying that there was a problem in the water. By the time they arrived, nothing could be done, and Stephen was pronounced dead. Kenesha was of course left totally devastated. What should have been the start of their new lives was in fact the end. She, as well as many others, wondered what exactly had happened. Did he suffer from a heart attack, or anything similar like a stroke? Or did he simply run out of air, overestimating how far he could dive on one breath? An autopsy was conducted, but sadly this also proved inconclusive. Some divers say he probably experienced a blackout, but I guess we'll never truly know. After the incident, Kenesha posted a heartbreaking memorial to her Facebook, saying that you never emerged from those depths, so you never got to hear my answer. On the post she said yes, yes 1,000,000 times, but Stephen will never hear these words now. This was absolutely tragic, and for Kenesha to capture it all on video is even more horrible. It's bloody haunting watching what should have been a heartfelt, amazing moment that ultimately ended in horror and heartbreak just moments later. Facebook live streams often capture music, cooking, and everyday chatter. But sometimes they capture a tragedy that unfolds in seconds, leaving viewers in shock. With that in mind, this horrifying live stream began on the evening of August the 13th, 2025, in Chicago, Illinois. That day, 42-year-old Kevin Watson was visiting his cousin's liquor store in the 500 block of West Madison in the Austin neighborhood on Chicago's west side. Before the stream, Kevin entered the store and bought a few bottles of booze, as he usually did. He was reportedly in good spirits, laughing and joking with his cousin before he left the store and headed towards his car. What he didn't realize at the time was that someone was behind him and someone was waiting for him. Unaware of this fact, Kevin sat in his car, and here is where he began a Facebook live stream. On camera, he spoke to his phone, talking to his friends on Facebook while sitting on West Madison Street. He was wearing a huge bling chain. He leaned back in the seat, phone in hand, and casually spoke to viewers. As he did so, it was clear that Kevin was up in arms about a recent parking dispute. He looked into the camera before something caught his eye. He looked up and he saw a masked person approaching the vehicle. As this all unfolded, the stream continued rolling. Kevin said hell nah and got out of his car to apprehend the person, and this is when a brief struggle followed off camera.
Come get me, we'll move the car so they can get the space. We will move our car, whatever car we need so they can get the space, just let's get the park. So now you, oh no, we can't do that. No, you just gotta find somewhere else to park. Who is you talking to? You feel me? Who is you talking to for real, even talking like that? Like that, and that's what make a motherfucker wanna get into it with y'all, cause y'all ain't got no respect. What's up, bro? What's up? Hell no!
Witnesses say the two were fighting, wrestling over a gun. In all the chaos and the frantic movement, the masked assailant pulled the trigger, firing a single shot towards Kevin, hitting him point blank in the chest.
Get into it with y'all, cause y'all ain't got no respect. What's up, bro? What's up? Hell no! Take the fucking
The stream continues for a few minutes afterwards, and these minutes are just awful. You can hear Kevin struggling to breathe, and then you can hear his cousin discovering him on the sidewalk.
They calling them now, bro. I got money. I got money. I got money, man. What pressure? Are you good? What pressure? What pressure? What pressure? Hold on. Talk to me. 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 No, nobody touched nothing over here. Hey! This my blood cousin, fuck. I got him. I'm trying to find the key because this bitch is locked and this shit in. Huh? And that's why I'm finna see. Fold.
Kevin was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital, but sadly his injury proved fatal and he was pronounced dead at arrival, leaving behind his beloved 6-year-old son. The live stream showing the moments before the murder and the minutes afterwards spread across the internet like wildfire. It was shared and reshared, and it quickly racked up more than 2 million views on Facebook before it was removed.
As gunfire rang out in this parking lot Wednesday evening on Madison near LeClaire Avenue in Chicago's South Austin neighborhood.
He was choking for breath. He was trying to struggle to breathe. I wouldn't let him walk out the store. He was a good man for this community. No matter what he done, he helped people, you know? He helped me get this job in there.
Close friends turned heartbroken witnesses say as Watson was walking to his car.
He was talking to a guy, and he was going to his car, and then the guy followed behind him. So when the guy followed behind him, pulled a gun on him. So he was trying to wrestle with the gun, and the gun went off.
I rubbed his palm, and I squeezed his hand. He wouldn't squeeze back.
Relatives tell us he leaves behind a 6-year-old son and say Watson was killed just weeks shy of his own birthday.
We're gonna have to figure out how to move on and be strong day to day and help each other get past this, because this didn't just hurt one person, this hurt a lot of us.
The police descended on the area, but by then, the suspect had long fled the scene. Despite a thorough investigation, at the time of saying this, the police have no suspects and no arrests have been made. Absolutely shocking. Considering there was probably loads of CCTV cameras in that area, surely this is traceable, but who knows? Hours later, Kevin's grief-stricken brother went live on Facebook himself, and in this stream you can just hear the pain in his voice. I can't even imagine losing your brother in such a horrible way. Just totally devastating. He claimed that Kevin had been set up and that the shooter's car had been waiting for 10 to 15 minutes before he got out and shot him. He accused everyone of being to fault, saying that many people would have seen this and had not spoken a word of warning to Kevin. This stream ended with a chilling vow: he would get his own revenge.
I just seen my brother's body. Gunshot wound to the chest, right? And but like he sleep. My brother look like he sleep. He like he at peace. I've also seen videos of shit. So whoever the was that got out on my brother, they was already sitting there for like 10-15 minutes. Since when do a motherfucker pull up there and sit for 10 minutes with tinted windows and don't nobody wash their car? Since when? Motherfucker pull up with tinted windows and don't nobody wash the car. Since when? Anytime a motherfucker ever been somewhere and you know it's going on, a motherfucker like, wash that car. It was so many of you out there on that camera. None of you said, watch that car. Knew what was going to happen. And y'all waited. Y'all waited. I watched the video. I don't need no more proof. You niggas waited. Didn't no more kind of help. tried to help. You watch that motherfucking car sit there for 10 motherfucking minutes. I don't give a who watching. Bitch, your bag better not get sold out there. A loose cigarette better not get sold. Nothing. And I mean that.
This next, frankly bizarre footage was recorded in the coastal town of Budva, located in the southwest of Montenegro. The town of Budva is best known as Montenegro's main coastal tourist hub. People travel from far and wide to experience what it has to offer. Its main attractions include a beautiful old medieval town, and the surrounding Budva Riviera, a 35-kilometer stretch of coast, is known for its long beaches and amazing resorts. Of course, beaches like this are always flooded with tourists. However, they're often also full of people trying to make a quick buck. There's always a group of locals offering tourists cheap parasailing trips. One person that ended up parasailing was 19-year-old model Tijana Radonjic. Born and raised in Novi Sad, Serbia, Tijana was a rising star in Balkan fashion circles. Described by friends as kind, spirited, and unafraid of new opportunities, in May of 2025, Tijana was on holiday in Montenegro with her aunt, who were visiting from Serbia. Tijana had travelled to the area for work and decided to make a trip of it and bring her aunt along and have a holiday. A few weeks earlier, Tijana had taken a job for a short promotional shoot where she was hired to be photographed parasailing above one of Budva Riviera's beaches. The purpose of the photo shoot was to help an undisclosed parasailing company in Budva increase their business before the tourist season by showing someone having fun in the area. Makes sense. Apparently, Tijana had not even heard of parasailing before, but believing this to be a chance to try something that she usually wouldn't, and get paid to do so, she leapt at the chance and accepted the job. This all led to Friday the 31st of May, 2025. It was time for the photo shoot. That morning, Tijana arrived at the beach, smiling and happy, and was reportedly eager to get into the air. Before long, she was all strapped in, and just like that, she took off from the beach, soon soaring above the waters with no problems whatsoever. As she soars through the air, for what seems like no reason, Tijana looks like she begins to panic. Eyewitnesses heard her scream, get me down," and others reportedly heard her shout, "Help me." Harrowing video shows her trying and struggling to remove her safety belt and harness, while being well over 100 feet up in the air. This video is almost impossible to watch. After she managed to break free from the waist buckle, she stripped off her life jacket, and once this was off, she wasted no time in flipping forwards and out of the harness, vanishing out of view and tumbling down almost 160 feet to the Adriatic Sea below. She dropped out of the sky like a lead balloon. Emergency services rushed to the scene and searched the water, trying desperately to help her. When you fall from this kind of height, the water acts like concrete. She'd sustained horrific injuries and was pronounced dead right there on the sand. Now, as this is a relatively fresh case, police and safety officials are still formally investigating the incident, confirming whether or not this was an accident, equipment failure, human error, or extreme mental distress. The company that hired her said that they were shocked and saddened at the tragedy, confirming that she had undergone several training sessions prior to the shoot. So this is just a very odd case. Why did she unbuckle the harness? It wasn't that they took her out and they were dodgy. Upon watching the footage, many assume this was intentional, but her family insists that she had no history of suicide or self-harm. This led some people to speculate that she may have suffered a panic attack and that she wasn't thinking straight when she unbuckled her harness, and maybe not realizing how dangerous a fall at that height could be. However, the only person that truly knows the answers to these questions is Tijana, and sadly she isn't here to tell the tale. So, as always, I'm interested in what you guys thought below. Now, this first horrifying clip was captured in Nassau, the capital of the Bahamas, on May the 24th, 2023. That day, a large group of students from multiple Baton Rouge high schools in Louisiana made their way to the Bahamas for an epic graduation holiday that they had organized themselves. Among the groups was 18-year-old Cameron Robbins. Cameron had just graduated from the University Laboratory School in Baton Rouge, where he was known as a funny, kind-hearted, and full-of-life guy. He was also a standout baseball player, described as intense, driven, and someone who pushed through injuries and never backed down from a challenge. Upon arriving in the Bahamas, Cameron and his friends checked into the Atlantis Paradise Hotel, a luxurious resort located on Paradise Island, a small landmass just off the coast of Nassau, connected by bridges. This hotel is one of the most famous resorts in the country, known for its massive water park, marine exhibits, and high-end amenities. But for the students, this trip wasn't about relaxation, it was about celebrating their newfound freedom. Almost immediately after arriving in the Bahamas, the group of students started drinking. That first evening, they had plans to board the Blackbeard's Revenge, a pirate-themed boat that would sail through Nassau Harbor and around Paradise Island before returning home that night. It sounds epic. So, as the sun set, just 4 hours after arriving in the Bahamas, Cameron and his friends stepped onto the party boat. The atmosphere was electric. Music was blasting, drinks were flowing, people were laughing and dancing. It was the kind of night that they would remember forever. But for Cameron, it would be his last. At around 9:40 p.m, everyone was heavily intoxicated, including Cameron. Caught up in the moment, he didn't hesitate. Upon being dared, he climbed up, balanced on the edge of the boat, and leapt into the dark ocean below. And that's where the clip begins. The widely shared footage shows Cameron treading water. He seems to be struggling, and his friends are screaming at him, urging him to grab the lifebuoy that had been thrown in his direction. It seems there's some sort of struggle, and instead of swimming towards it, Cameron suddenly turns and faces the darkness beneath him. His movements shift, he kicks harder, his arms thrashing, as if trying to push something away. Then, in a chilling moment, Cameron is almost pulled sideways, dragged abruptly into the darkness. The last glimpse of him is a brief struggle before he vanishes completely, never to be seen again.
Yo! This kid fucking jumped off! Oh my fucking god! Oh, bye-bye! Oh shit! That shit! Hey, grab the buoy! Hey, the buoy! Yo, this kid's fucking gone, bro!
Some believe that he was caught in a strong current, yanked beneath the surface before he even had time to react, but others see something far more sinister in the footage. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force later confirmed that this area is full of sharks, and when you watch the clip closely, it does almost look like something is in the water with him before Cameron disappears. After vanishing, the alarm was raised and the boat's crew and passengers scoured the dark waters for hours, but there was no sign of him.
A recent high school graduate from Louisiana is missing after going overboard while on a trip to the Bahamas. Officials say 18-year-old Cameron Robbins was traveling with a group of students when he went overboard Wednesday night. Students and parents prayed for Robbins' safe return at his high school in Baton Rouge. Royal Bahamian police say it all happened near an uninhabited island popular with snorkelers. They are investigating claims that Robbins jumped into the water at night on a dare.
Hours turned into days as the US Coast Guard, as well as the Bahamian authorities, scoured over 325 square miles of ocean. Despite sifting through this with a fine-tooth comb, no body, no clothing, or any trace of Cameron was ever found. On May the 27th, after exhausting all efforts, officials declared him lost at sea. A week later, on June the 4th, Cameron's family and friends gathered at Broadmoor United Methodist Church for a private memorial. Dressed in black, mourners embraced the outside of the church, grieving for a young man whose life had been cut tragically short. A night of celebration that should have been one of the happiest moments of his life ended in a horrifying tragedy, one that left his loved ones with nothing but questions, and a clip that captured his last moments right before horror. This clip was recorded on the cold morning of December the 29th, 2024, at around 8 a.m. But before we can get into that clip, we need to roll the clocks back a few hours to 2:28 a.m. that very morning. Around this time, Jeju Air Flight 2216 took off from near Bangkok, Thailand, bound for Muan International Airport in Muan County, South Korea. Jeju Air Flight 2216 was a 15-year-old Boeing 737-8AS. The captain had been an employee of Jeju Air since 2019 and had accumulated over 6,820 hours of flight experience, with 696 of those hours being on the very plane that they were piloting that night. The first officer was far less experienced, but still had over 1,650 hours, with 1,339 of them being on the Boeing 737. So both pilots were very experienced, they know what they were doing, and this was a routine, ordinary, and boring flight. In total, there were 181 souls on board, along with 4 flight attendants. That morning, the passengers boarded the aircraft, the lights dimmed, and the majority slept all throughout the journey. The aircraft climbed to cruising altitude and made its way northward across the South China Sea and over the Korean Peninsula. Hours passed, and the flight neared its destination. At 8:54 a.m. Korean Standard Time, Air Traffic Control cleared Flight 2216 to land on runway 1 at Muan International Airport. The crew began the descent, configuring the aircraft for landing. Then, at 8:57 a.m., the tower issued an ominous warning, something that all pilots dread, especially at landing and takeoff, the warning of a bird strike. Despite this warning, less than 2 minutes later, at 8:59 a.m., the pilots transmitted a mayday call. Sadly, they were unable to maneuver around the birds. Witnesses on the ground reported seeing a flock of them being sucked into the right engine. And as they did, flames and sparks erupted from the aircraft's right wing, causing immediate loss of power. They told air traffic control this, and the crew announced that they were executing a go-around and abandoning the landing attempt. But just 1 minute later, by 9 a.m., the situation had deteriorated catastrophically. As they maneuvered around, trying to attempt another landing, more birds had been sucked into the left engine, and by now, the right engine was totally inoperable. They were struggling to stay in the air, so the pilots requested permission to land on the opposite runway, runway 19. This was a total emergency, and just when things were looking bad, they got even worse. Coming in to land on runway 19, the aircraft refused to deploy its landing gear. 2 minutes later, at 9:03 a.m., the aircraft was making its way towards the runway, this time without any landing gears, both pilots just hoping and praying things went okay. All captured on camera, without the landing gear, the Boeing 737 barely landed, hitting the bottom of the engines. Unfortunately, the aircraft touched down roughly 1,200 meters along the runway, far, far beyond where it should have landed. With no landing gear, the nose of the plane remained pitched upward as the jet slid forward on its engines, unable to slow down. Still traveling at an estimated 150 miles an hour, the end of the runway approached rapidly. The aircraft overran the threshold by 250 meters, hurtling towards a concrete berm that supported the instrument landing system antenna, positioned at the end of the runway. The aircraft just could not stop in time. It impacted with the concrete berm. The collision was totally catastrophic. The impact tore the aircraft apart, exploding into a vast fireball of death. Both engines embedded themselves deep into the wall. The tail section separated and rolled forward, coming to a rest upside down. The forward fuselage completely disintegrated, scattering wreckage up to 300 meters beyond the berm, and even damaging the airport's perimeter wall, hundreds of meters away. All that was left was a pile of metal and fire. The people inside just didn't stand a chance. Local residents described hearing loud explosions and the terrible sound of the metal scraping against the runway, a sound that they'll never, ever forget. Within minutes, 1,562 emergency personnel were mobilized, but when they arrived, they just couldn't believe their eyes. There was almost nothing they could do. The flames were so strong they could barely get close to it. It was a total inferno. Firefighters worked desperately to put out the blaze, and at 9:23 a.m., 20 minutes after the impact, rescuers pulled the first survivor from the wreckage. At 9:50 a.m., they extracted the second. Both were flight attendants who had been seated in the rear jump seats in the tail section, the only part of the aircraft that remained somewhat intact. Both were conscious but were unable to recall what happened. Both sustained serious injuries, including fractures, brain injuries, but amazingly, they had survived. Firefighters extinguished the blaze within 43 minutes of the impact, and it was here that they transitioned from a rescue to a recovery operation. The human cost of this was staggering. All 175 passengers perished, as well as 4 crew members. Bodies and body parts were found scattered across the crash site, some found over 100 to 200 meters from the main wreckage. Many were burned or mutilated beyond recognition by the violence of the impact. A temporary morgue was established in an aircraft hangar as family members began arriving to identify the dead.
Most of the people on board a plane that crash landed this morning are feared dead.
Start with the developing news from South Korea. A plane has crashed on landing at an airport in the country, and at least 176 people have been killed.
It's one of the worst plane crashes in aviation history. 179 people killed after a Boeing 737 made a belly landing, skidded off the runway, and slammed into a wall.
This turned out to be the deadliest aviation disaster involving a South Korean airliner since the 1997 crash of Korean Air Flight 801 in Guam. And it's also the deadliest crash in South Korea, surpassing the 2002 crash of Air China Flight 129 that weirdly killed 129 people.
Families of the victims have been here at Muan International Airport since Sunday, waiting for any bit of information they can get. Some vented their frustration and anger at officials, like this man. But soon he was in tears as others tried to console him. Family members together or on their own, all trying to come to grips with reality in their own ways. This 63-year-old man who didn't want to be identified says he was at home watching news of the plane crash when it hit him that his daughter and son-in-law could be on the flight.
방송을 봤는데 신호는 이제 안 올라오고 그 탑승자에 들었다고 해가지고 딸하고 사위하고 둘이 탔지. 사람이 다 죽은 폭발해서 다 죽었는데 누가 남아있까지 죽음으로 또 완전 처참해.
Investigators recovered both flight recorders the same day, but weirdly, both had stopped recording seconds before the Mayday call was transmitted. A critical and strange gap in the evidence. They discovered what eyewitnesses saw on the ground, signs of bird strikes from a species of migratory duck. But the left engine, while it had taken some birds in, seemed to be okay. Because both black boxes had stopped recording, they could only estimate what had happened, until in July 2025, preliminary findings discovered something totally shocking. Investigators concluded that the crew had accidentally shut down the one remaining working engine, the left engine, instead of the damaged right, after misinterpreting the captain's shutdown command. This report said that because of this, both engines lost power, and this is why the landing gears failed to deploy. Victims' families, as well as the pilots' families, strongly contested this, arguing that it blamed the dead while ignoring unanswered questions about the bird strike and the black box failures. The investigation concluded that the main cause of this accident was the birds, as well as the Korean government's failure to implement anti-bird measures at this airport that was well known to have extremely high bird activity. It was literally built on a bird migrating hotspot. The report also highlighted another big contributing factor to the crash. It turns out that the thing at the end of the runway was non-compliant. It was supposed to be built out of breakable materials in order to prevent exactly this kind of impact, but it was instead built out of solid concrete. This infuriated the public, as well as the families of those deceased. Why on earth was the structure at the end of the runway built to be totally solid? it turned what might have been a survivable accident into a total catastrophe. In response to this tragedy, authorities ordered the concrete at the end of the runway to be demolished and replaced with breakable materials. Similar structures at airports all across the world came under review to hopefully avoid this horrific tragedy in the future. MRI, or magnetic resonance imaging machines, are massive pieces of equipment found in hospitals, obviously. These machines are capable of generating detailed images of inside the body without the use of X-rays. Hundreds of thousands of MRI scans are conducted all over the world each year, and they usually go down without issue. However, you're watching a bizarre death video, so sometimes, as you know, they go terribly wrong. This first case unfolded on July the 16th, 2025 in Nassau, Westbury, on New York's Long Island. That day, a steady flow of people entered the open MRI hospital in Westbury, and two of these people were 61-year-old Keith McAllister and his wife, Adrienne McAllister. Adrienne had an MRI scan booked for her knee, and that day it was a routine, boring appointment, and nothing was out of the ordinary. The pair entered the MRI suite, and Adrienne laid down inside the machine. Before long, the scan began. This all went well, and at the end of her scan, she called out to Keith to help her get off the bed. The technician inside the room went out of the room to get Keith and allowed him to enter in, all while the MRI machine was still running. As Keith entered, he was laughing and joking as he walked up to the machine. And as he leaned over to help his wife, with the technician by his side, he was suddenly and violently yanked off his feet and sucked into the MRI machine head first, right in front of his horrified wife and the technician. It turns out that underneath his top, around his neck, Keith was wearing a 9-kilogram or 20-pound bike lock. This chain was something that Keith put on his neck to weight train to keep him in shape, but today it would be the end of him. The 9-kilogram chain tightened instantly around his neck, pinning him into the machine with immense force. His wife and the technician tried desperately to pull him free, but it was literally impossible. The chain was now being pulled with 9,000 pounds of force. You'd need around 150 men to even budge it. So you can imagine the damage that it did to his neck as it clamped him down in the machine like a vice. Total horror unfolded as his wife was forced to watch the chain slowly strangle him. Keith waved goodbye to his wife as his body went limp. There he remained pinned to the machine for an entire hour before first responders could even move him. I can only imagine the agony of this entire ordeal for his wife to slowly watch your loved one fade away right in front of you. Keith's heart was still beating when paramedics arrived, but he was unresponsive. Sadly, he never regained consciousness, and he suffered several heart attacks overnight, and the following day he was pronounced dead in one of the most bizarre MRI-related deaths in history.
We were asked to leave Nassau Open MRI today. No comment about the Wednesday incident that saw a 61-year-old suffer critical injuries after walking in on an MRI in progress.
The technician was unaware that Keith was even wearing the chain, as it was concealed under his shirt. If he had known, he almost certainly wouldn't have allowed him to enter. MRI technicians are constantly reminded that the magnets in these machines are always running. The magnetic field they produce is massive and cannot be shut down easily, not without quenching the magnets, which would permanently damage the system, and that even still takes time.
When that door is closed, everyone knows not to enter. That's surprising.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Put in place here to keep unauthorized visitors out of the MRI examination rooms.
The technologists are responsible. Anybody that tries to come in here, they're the gatekeepers to stopping anyone from coming in.
It's well known, or at least it should be, that taking metal near an active MRI can kill you. Even something as small as a penny in your pocket can become a deadly projectile. Regardless, the technician should have never allowed anyone in the room other than the patient, so there definitely seems like a level of negligence here, one that may lead to lawsuits.
The man pulled into an MRI. by his necklace has died, we've learned, and tonight his wife is grieving his loss after she says she watched him get sucked into that machine.
At that instant, the machine switched him around, pulled him in, and he hit the MRI. Snatched him around and pulled him into the machine. He died. He went limp in my arms. I haven't been able to sleep. I'm barely eating. I just can't believe. I still trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. He waved goodbye to me, and then his whole body went limp. They were standing there laughing and joking before he even came to the table. Do something, turn this damn thing off.
Adrian said that this was not the first time she and Keith had been to Nassau Open MRI, and she said he'd worn the big chain here before.
It's not the first time that guy has seen that chain. They had a conversation about it before. Oh, that's a big chain.
Now, I've covered a couple of MRI deaths before, like the one where a fire extinguisher was pulled across the room and it crushed a person, or when a gun was sucked from someone's pocket and went off, killing its owner. But this one has to be the most absurd of them all. Why on earth was Keith wearing a massive chain to a hospital appointment, and why was he let into the room anyway? I actually had to read this case multiple times to make sense of it, because apparently Keith had been to the MRI suite multiple times before and would have been well aware of the danger. It seems that he just forgot that day, and it cost him his life. But at least in his final moments he had his wife by his side, which is far more than most get. Now, this next entry only recently occurred, and legal proceedings are still ongoing. But I wanted to cover it now while it's fresh, because it truly shocked me to my core, and I just can't believe these kind of things are still happening. It begins in the small town of Kochani, located in East North Macedonia. About 100 miles from the capital, this quiet town of just 25,000 people is a very close-knit community. Everyone knows each other, but in the early hours of March the 16th, 2025, that beautiful sense of community would be shattered forever. That night, a local hotspot situated on the outskirts of Kochani, called Club Pulse, was absolutely packed. That night, it was hosting a concert by DNK, one of North Macedonia's most popular hip-hop duos. Hundreds of people, many of them underage, had come out to see them. Excited fans, students, families, and teenagers looking for a night of music and fun. Now, Club Pulse was actually an improvised nightclub, operating inside a former carpet warehouse. Despite it being a club, where I'm assuming alcohol was being served, doormen allowed everyone inside of all ages. After all, what could possibly go wrong? By 2:30 AM, the club was pulsing with energy. DNK was mid-performance, the crowd packed in tightly, dancing under strobe lights and smoke. They were having the time of their lives, and then came the pyrotechnics, indoor fireworks designed to flash and impress the crowd. But as they always do when these things are used inside, as soon as they went off, things quickly turned horrific. Sparks shot upward and ignited the foam ceiling panels. At first, the band didn't notice. The lighting, the stage effects, and the loud music all masked what was happening. But within moments, after audience members began pointing and shouting, the band looked up and realized that something was very wrong. The ceiling, sadly like much of the venue, was cladded with flammable acoustic foam. One of the band members grabbed a fire extinguisher and rushed to the flames, trying to stop it right there on the stage, but it was already too late. The fire had already taken hold, feeding off the flammable foam and spreading at a terrifying speed. Realizing that things were going bad, the band stopped playing, and a voice grabbed the mic and shouted to the crowd, "Everyone out, leave the building now, faster, faster." The venue only had one fire extinguisher, no sprinklers, and no fire exits. Panic erupted. Some people tried to grab their friends and head towards the exit. Others hesitated for just a second, and that was all it took for them to lose their lives. Thick, black smoke began filling the club. The flames tore through the ceiling, melted the plastic, ignited the fabric, and rained burning plastic on those trying to flee the club. As they tried to escape, the lights went out, screams filled the air, and visibility dropped to near zero. Then came the stampede. Everyone rushed towards the only exit, a single narrow doorway at the front of the club. The back door was locked, dozens were trampled, crushed in the chaos, others collapsed from smoke inhalation or burns before they were able to escape. Just minutes after the fire began, the roof began to partially collapse, before firefighters had even arrived. The building just simply couldn't withstand the heat and the flames. Some people in the chaos trying to flee and escape through bathroom windows, only to discover that they had been barred over. It was a bloody horror, and I don't want to underestimate that. Firefighters arrived shortly after, but by then, much of the destruction had already occurred. The club's location in a tightly packed area in the outskirts of the town made it difficult to access. But once they did get inside, the scene was apocalyptic. The entire thing was collapsing in on itself, and on the floor lay many, many visible charred bodies. Firefighters worked to put out the remaining flames and search for any survivors, but by now, as I said, it was already too late. In total, 59 people were killed in the blaze, and over 150 people were injured, many suffering severe burns, leaving them in critical condition. Most of the victims were heartbreakingly young, aged between 16 and 48 years old. 6 of the dead were under 18. All had arrived just hours earlier, excited to see their favourite band, and now they were gone. Over 100 people that were burnt had to be transferred to hospitals in neighbouring countries because their burns were so severe and the hospitals were so full. Sadly, many of the dead carried no identification. This meant identifying them was a real struggle. Many victims had died from being crushed in the stampede, while others succumbed to the flames and the smoke. The band that was playing that night, D&K, were not immune either. One of the duo's lead singers died in the fire, along with 6 other members of the group's support team. Vladimir Blazev survived. He suffered severe burns to his face and his hands and was given oxygen therapy at the scene. He was the only surviving member of his band. Everyone else, gone. As the names of the dead began to emerge, the heartbreak only deepened. Panicked parents began flooding hospitals and morgues, searching for their children. For far too many, the worst had already occurred. They faced something that no parent ever should, the death of their child.
It's my only child, and he died. What am I supposed to do? Local officials should be hurt in the same way that I'm hurt. I've been there all night. They can't even get the bodies out. They can't pull them out. There must be 200 people inside. Children burnt, beyond recognition. There are corpses, just corpses inside. They can't pull them out, not even with helicopters, special forces, and the mafia bosses just putting money into their pockets. Goddamn money.
The small town of Kochani was left brutally stunned. As I said, it's a very small and tight-knit community. Losing 59 young people is just insane. Endless families were shattered overnight. The entire town mourned. On March the 17th, the day after the fire, Macedonia's Prime Minister held a press conference, and here he revealed that only 22 legal nightclub licenses existed in the country, and Club Pulse was not one of them. Turns out it had been operating illegally for years. The license that they had been falsified, signed off by corrupt officials, and never even entered into the registry. Bribes had been paid to look the other way. The venue should have never opened, let alone hosted a crowd. To make things worse, the walls weren't fireproof and the ceiling was lined with flammable acoustic foam. Not only this, but the drywall used in its construction contained asbestos, a known carcinogen. Unlike other materials, asbestos doesn't burn. It breaks apart under high heat, releasing microscopic fibres into the air, which are then inhaled. Everyone inside, survivors, first responders, even nearby residents, may have inhaled the asbestos. The health minister for North Macedonia urged everyone at the scene to get checked, warning that its lethal effects may not show up for years. 7 days of national mourning were declared. The Prime Minister called the loss irreparable and promised justice.
Нема да има милост, тоа јас и вчера го кажав, тоа ќе го повторам и денеска. Кој сака нека биде. Кој сака дека биде, od kakva saka neka biде етничка припадност и од која сака нека биде политичка партија. Тоа што се случувало е повеќе од криминал. Ова е би рекол масовно убиство кое што некој го дозволувал за пари, за мито, за корупција да се случи.
A candlelit vigil was held in Kochani, but across the country, grief gave way to rage. Knowing that officials had traded safety for money, thousands took to the streets. In Kochani, protesters hurled bottles, rocks, and eggs at government buildings. The windows were smashed. They descended on more government buildings and demanded that the mayor of Kochani show his face, but by then he'd already resigned due to the scandal.
So many kids died here because of that corruption. We don't want it here, guys. Yes, so many friends. I have so many friends here, but I can't. So many people died here because of that corruption.
The crowd vandalised the classic cafe owned by the club owner, and later that night, they overturned his car and even tried to set his house on fire. On March the 18th, thousands gathered at Macedonia Square in the capital, lifting their phones towards the sky in a silent remembrance. On March the 20th, thousands dressed in black attended mass funerals to pay their respects to the young people lost far too soon. In Kochani alone, 30 victims were laid to rest. Then came the arrests. Police detained and arrested Dejan, or Diko, the club's owner, as well as his son. 7 police officers were also detained for approving a catering license despite blatant safety issues. A former state secretary in the Ministry of Economy was also arrested for signing off the falsified documents. A band member, 3 former mayors, and several security guards were also charged. The guards were charged for letting in underage guests and allowing pyrotechnics in the overcrowded, unsafe venue. In total, 13 people were arrested for their contributions to the tragedy, with the government promising more arrests to follow. Authorities have since launched a nationwide sweep of nightclubs and cafes, uncovering dozens of violations and shutting down multiple venues to prevent another tragedy like this. However, for the families of the 59 people lost, there's just no making this right. There will always be a hole where that loved one was. It's just absolutely tragic. I hope that all these people are held fully accountable, because this wasn't just a fire. This was a result of greed, negligence, and corruption. There's all kind of live streams out there, from gaming to cooking to dancing, but for some people, IRL streams, or in real life streams, are their go-to. They just can't get enough of spectating someone else's life in real time. But the only problem with IRL streams is that if the streamer gets any enemies, they know exactly where they are. With that in mind, this entry begins on the evening of June the 8th, 2025. But before we can get into the events that unfolded that night, we need to roll the clocks back at least a year and a half. Around this time, an online beef started between 2 Las Vegas YouTubers. The first channel in question was named Sin City Manny and was run by 41-year-old Manuel D. Ruiz. The second channel in question went by the name of Finny the Legend and was run by 44-year-old Rodney Finley and his wife, 43-year-old Tanisha Finley. Both channels basically covered the same content. Almost every day they would go live, sometimes multiple times, showing them walking around Las Vegas, checking out popular locations, and enjoying themselves. Because the pair do similar content in the same area, it wasn't long before they met each other, and it wasn't long before they got into a dispute. This dispute started out as a petty feud over stolen content, and what started as light jabs and passive-aggressive comments soon escalated into increasingly hostile exchanges, both off and on camera, with followers of both channels loving every minute of it, egging them on, fueling the drama. Things soon turned physical when the pair stumbled into each other during a livestream shortly after their beef in 2023. The pair began shouting and pushing each other, and Manny was cited for battery and harassment. This beef continued to escalate, and at the start of 2025, Manny allegedly accused Rodney of doxing a member of his family. while Rodney claimed that Manny had been harassing him and interfering with his public meetups. Both of them were harassing each other for clout, donations, and money. These disputes continued, and in 2025, Rodney submitted 2 copyright claims on Manny's channel, meaning that Manny was just one away from being deleted. This really got to him, and the bickering and arguing continued, with Manny threatening Rodney, saying, "I hope your mother has a black dress, because I'ma kill you."
It was just back and forth, back and forth. He told him, he said, he talked about the whole family. He said, "I hope your mom have a black dress because I'm gonna kill you."
This all came to a head on the evening of June the 8th, 2025. It was a Sunday night in Vegas. Manny and Rodney had both gone live on their YouTube, and it was getting dark. Manny was out that night with his wife, and so was Rodney. Rodney had actually been live on his channel once already that morning, and eerily, this first stream begins with Queen blasting in the background, with lyrics stating, "If I'm not back again this time tomorrow, carry on."
Sorry, y'all. I got it, but it ain't what we thought. Let's go, Donut!
The day before this, Manny had actually posted a video to his social media showing him driving around Vegas looking for Rodney. In this video, he says to the camera that he'd been into every casino and every club that Manny frequented, and he was nowhere to be seen.
Jerome, I'm out here searching for my baby. But I went through every fucking casino there is. I heard there's one of my biggest fans here in fucking town. I was dying to see him. I'm fucking dying to see him. What are we doing, field bar tonight? Is that what we're doing? I'll fucking be there. I'll fucking be there. You better fucking believe it. You come to my city and think I'm not gonna show up? You fucking think I'm not gonna show up? I should have been the first one to be told. Right? Somebody should have sent me my invite. Mr. Marquez. That's right. We outside. We're doing field bar tonight? I'm fucking there, homie. Hey!
Rodney would have been aware that Manny was looking for him, but took no notice and continued to stream and go out as anyone would do. Rodney's stream that evening played out like the other hundreds of streams that he had done. It showed him and his wife Tanisha enjoying the famous Las Vegas Strip with their fans, taking in the cool summer breeze, joking and having fun. As usual, you guys know what I'm going to say, things were all going well until they weren't. At approximately 10:40 PM, Rodney and his wife found themselves outside the Bellagio Hotel and Casino, one of the city's most recognizable buildings situated on the Vegas Strip. On stream, Rodney and his wife can be seen dancing in the busy street. They were so busy, in fact, that they failed to notice Manny walk straight past them.
Thanks, Donut.
Manny had watched Rodney's stream, and because he knew the area well, he rushed to the location that he was streaming. All captured on camera, you can see Manny walking straight past. At first, he pretends not to notice Rodney, but just a few seconds later, he appears on stream again, and this time he confronts Rodney directly. Tanisha tries to defend her husband, but before anyone could do anything, Manny pulled out a pistol and pulled the trigger. At least 7 gunshots rang out as people scrambled for cover. Rodney was hit several times and he stumbled to the ground. Seeing her husband shot right in front of her, Tanisha recoiled in horror and attempted to help him, but as she did, she was also shot twice. The phone that was streaming then dropped to the concrete, and as Rodney and Tanisha lay there dying on the floor, Manny fled the scene. The stream continues to run. The next few minutes captures the audio of people running to their aid to find them both mortally wounded. You can hear a baby crying in the background, and you can hear people screaming at what they had just witnessed.
Nobody said they knew. They said they didn't know. Sarge, I need witnesses. They all fucking took off. They all fucking ran. Sarge, we need someone to Bellagio surveillance.
5 minutes later, police teams arrived at the scene, with one picking up the phone and asking viewers to identify the victims.
Hey, if you know this person, call the phone.
Ambulances arrived shortly after and tried their very best to save their lives, but sadly, their injuries proved fatal and they were both pronounced dead right there on the pavement. Absolutely tragic. A YouTube beef had not only ended one life, but two. Tanisha didn't do anything wrong. She wasn't even involved in the drama, and she had lost her life. Rodney was on the phone to his mother at the time of the murder. She had called him before shots were heard and the phone was dropped. Nobody should have to hear their son die. An urgent manhunt ensued to find who was responsible, but before anyone could be caught, the following day at 10 a.m., Manny handed himself into the police, claiming self-defense.
Let's just face the wall right here. We're just going to detain you real quick, okay? You got any weapons on or anything? All right. You could double cuff it if you want.
He told police that Rodney had pushed him and that he saw him reach for a gun. I'm not sure why he attempted to lie, because this whole encounter was captured on live stream for the entire world to see. It was clearly premeditated, so the police immediately arrested him on 2 counts of murder. His wife's involvement, Juliana, is under heavy scrutiny, but as of writing this, she has yet to be charged as an accessory, despite a public outcry following the release of a short video showing her walking away from the murder just seconds after.
Rodney and Tanisha Finley's son, who told police he was watching their live stream when the gunfire started and saw his parents get killed.
My daughter and my son-in-law were there and there was a shooting. I'm trying to get information is what I'm trying to do.
Tanisha's mother also called police, unsure why her daughter and Rodney had gone silent and hoping for any sign they were okay.
As this is pretty recent, court proceedings have yet to take place. Manny continues to be held in custody without bail until his court date. He is still pleading that he is innocent and claiming that this was all an act of self-defense. Online beef is one thing, but murdering 2 people in cold blood because of it is just insane, and I hope the judge throws the book at him.
Ruiz, who goes by the name Sin City Manny on YouTube, walked before a judge handcuffed.
Good morning, Mr. Ruiz. You were arrested for 2 counts of open murder with use of a deadly weapon.
An arrest report we obtained says Ruiz shot Rodney twice in the head and several times in the arm. He shot Tanisha in the back of the head. The shooting was captured on the Finny the Legend live stream.
It was all about who was the biggest Las Vegas YouTube content creator. And it was just, they was in competition. And when you watch YouTube, you see different creators competing for viewers. And that's what I thought it was about. I didn't think it was going to end in violence.
An arrest report says Ruiz fled the scene after the shooting and tossed a murder weapon in the Paris parking garage. Ruiz told police he was acting in self-defense, but investigators did not list in their arrest report any weapons on Rodney and Tanisha Finley.
They might talk about my eye, they might talk about the way I look, but I would never get a gun and shoot somebody. That's just crazy.
In the aftermath, Manny's channel was terminated, but Finny the Legend's channel remains to this day. His streams are all accessible, showing a frozen time capsule of a couple's life snatched away by a man who didn't think twice. This next entry is a case that occurred pretty recently, but for some reason, I don't know about you guys, but I never saw it in the news, I never saw it posted on any social media. It seems to be swept completely under the rug, and I have no idea why, because it's one of the most tragic and avoidable tragedies in recent history. This entry begins on the cold winter night of January the 21st, 2025, in Kartalkaya, Bolu province, Turkey. As the Turkish winter evening weather swept in, hundreds of guests bunkered down at the Grand Kartal Hotel, a 12-story hotel situated in the remote Kartalkaya ski resort just outside Bolu city. The Grand Kartal Hotel, built in 1998, was positioned in a remote mountainous area, so it makes sense that it was primarily used for skiing tourists. It was one of Turkey's most popular ski resorts, having over 161 rooms and 350 beds. For decades, they catered to domestic and international tourists who came to the location to ski, snowboard, and enjoy winter sports. That fateful night of January the 21st, the hotel was housing 238 guests. As it was the peak of winter and school break, the hotel was around 80 to 90% full. As guests were fast asleep in their beds, something occurred in the 4th floor kitchen that started a small fire. Believing that they had it under control, hotel management did not phone emergency services immediately, and instead ordered staff not to alert guests while they attempted to manage the situation internally. Quickly, they realized that they didn't stand a chance. Due to the wooded cladded exterior of the hotel, the flames quickly spiraled out of control and began spreading up the exterior of the hotel at a terrifying rate. According to survivors, as the fire spread, fire alarms and water sprinklers did not activate. Panicked guests began rushing out of their hotel rooms with their children to find pitch black, smoke-filled corridors. While the building did have 2 emergency exits, there were no functioning emergency exit lights to guide people to safety. The fire was first reported to emergency services at around 3:27 a.m, but according to witnesses, they say that they smelt and saw flames as early as an hour prior. The intensity of the flames prevented onlookers and guests from helping, as they were unable to get back into the building once they'd left. Those on the ground began to dial for emergency services, but as it was the dead of winter, and the fact that the hotel was in a pretty remote mountainous spot, it would be a while before they arrived. A total unimaginable nightmare unfolded as the building continued to burn. Men, women and children desperately screamed out of their windows, begging for someone to save them, but for most, rescue never came in time. Instead of trying their luck running through the corridors or waiting for firefighters to arrive, some guests began tying bedsheets together and lowered them out the windows, which actually worked pretty well. But 3 individuals were in such a panic that they leapt from their windows, only one of whom survived the fall. Several trapped victims inside made desperate pleas for help via social media as the blaze unfolded. One particularly tragic case involved a 25-year-old maid who was trapped on the 12th floor. She called her father seeking advice on what to do, and despite his desperate pleas for her to not jump, ultimately she had no choice and she leapt out of the 12th floor window, and she was one of the victims that later succumbed to her injuries in intensive care. Now apparently, Kartalkaya has no dedicated firefighting service, so approximately 267 emergency personnel, 30 fire engines, and 28 ambulances were deployed to the scene from farther afield. By the time they arrived over an hour later, it was all but too late. The flames had already wrapped themselves around the building, completely engulfing it. Many people were already dead. Fire engines barraged the building with water from all angles and worked to save those trapped and provide aid to those injured. Due to the cliffside position of the hotel, Firefighters struggled to reach guests on the other side of the building, further hampering rescue efforts. The fire was finally extinguished 12 hours later, and by then, the losses were staggering. At first, the death toll stood at 10, but shortly after, this was amended to 78 people, injuring 51 others. Most victims died from suffocation, and sadly, at least 36 of the fatalities were children. In some cases, multiple members of the same family died, with one family losing more than 10 members. I just can't even imagine that, going on holiday with 10 of your other family members and being the only one coming back. As there was no big enough morgue nearby, bodies of the dead were piled haphazardly in the back of a refrigerator truck that was parked outside. The cause of the fire has yet to be proven 100%. However, one newspaper reported that it was due to hot oil catching fire during breakfast preparations, while others reported that the flames spread after the wrong intervention of the kitchen staff by pouring water. Another media outlet suggested that the fire originated from a wiring fault within the grill. But regardless of how it started, it was clear that this building was not fit to house anyone, let alone hundreds of guests. The shameless lack of fire safety exacerbated the scale of the fire and the number of the deaths. Many families of the dead were left wondering how this kind of building can pass safety inspections and remain open in 2025. They turned to officials who just pointed fingers at each other. Basically, long story short, just because of the location of the hotel, nobody really knew who was truly responsible for it until it was far too late. The Ministry of Tourism said that it should be Bolu City who was responsible for it, but they said the hotel was outside the city's limits and said that it was clearly the Ministry of Tourism's responsibility. Officials stated that the hotel had a recent fire certificate, but upon scrutiny, it turns out that this fire certificate was only applied to a small cafe, not the main hotel or its kitchen. So in reality, the building had no valid fire safety certificate for its entire history. The hotel was inspected multiple times while it was open, and these reports highlighted several serious safety concerns. One report from December 2024, just a month before the fire, conducted by Bolu's fire department at the hotel's own request, flagged 7 serious violations. A broken fire alarm system, meaning it was not possible for it to go off, no sprinklers whatsoever, despite being made a legal requirement in all buildings for public use in 2008, unsafe fire doors, missing emergency lights, and even an unapproved, difficult to reach top floor. Despite these findings, nothing was done. No agency stepped in to close it or enforce these safety standards, and soon after applying for their fire safety certificate, the hotel withdrew its application on December 25th, making no fixes whatsoever and remaining open to the public. So because of jurisdictional confusion and regulatory loopholes, it allowed the hotel to stay open and keep operating despite major safety issues, right into the deadliest hotel fire in Turkey's history. So, as it often is with these kind of clips, it turns out that this was a disaster waiting to happen. Multiple red flags had been ignored over the years. It's corruption at its finest. Soon after this, 14 individuals were detained for questioning, including the hotel's owner, the hotel's architect, members of the kitchen staff, deputy mayor of the town, as well as the deputy's fire department's director. This tragedy prompted national mourning and led to intensified scrutiny on fire safety regulations all across Turkey. But, as of writing this, nobody has yet to be held accountable for this truly devastating and avoidable fire. And that is the end of the mega video. Wowzers trousers. Just going through all of these clips again, it reminded me just how many crazy clips that I've covered this year. All of them leave me grateful to be alive, leave me grateful to be saying this today, but the people in these entries just weren't so lucky. As always, I'm interested in what you guys thought in the comments below. You guys know I do try and read every single comment, so type your heart away and I'll try my best to read them. But on a side note, I'm not going to do any plugging at the end of this video. Thank you to each and every one of you that made it this far or skipped through the video to see the end. I couldn't do this channel without each and every one of you watching, even you, Dave, right at the back. So here's to yet another horrifying year in 2026. I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.